Hey Adni fam, it is Anthony, and I am so beyond thrilled. Today we are joined by an absolute healthcare staffing legend, Solena Barrera, who is the head of strategic solutions at Pioneer Healthcare Services. Selena and I met through like the healthcare staffing world, which is honestly such a small world. But Selena is someone who immediately I knew was someone who really cared about healthcare workers, really cared about this topic of rehumanizing healthcare staffing. So thank you so much for being on the podcast with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Anthony and Adni fam. Hi.
Yay! Well, we're so excited to dive into your story, hear all the behind the scenes at Pioneer and kind of your journey. And really would just love to start like from the beginning with you. If you could just kind of take us back, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you ended up where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Selena. I am a one and a half first generation Korean American, and I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona. I have always been known to be an extroverted extrovert. So just always been known as a connector. That's been my passion in life is to always be connecting with others and just really being in the know of why people function the way they do, what drives them, what motivates them, and how can I be your best friend? So
I love that.
yeah, so it feels like I was like made for the recruitment industry. I didn't know what it was when I first started back in 2012, and I was naturally the rush chair of our sorority, which was basically, doing the recruitment efforts of bringing new people in, and they had me doing that all 4 years because I was such a extender, and through that I naturally found my way into recruitment and healthcare because in college I tried to be a nurse and get into nursing school, and it was really hard. I think I cried my way through OChem and physiology and anatomy, and so I realized I couldn't do it, but I wanted to work with the nurses that really give back and keep our country healthy. So that's how I got into this industry. I started off as a recruiter, loved it. I love being able to, especially in travel nurse recruitment, being able to speak with someone who was not happy in their career and connect them to another opportunity that was
Mm.
going to elevate them, whether it was meeting financial goals or life goals. And it was really satisfying to know that I was making a difference for them, that whenever I ended whatever their journey was, when I was done with them, they're in a much better spot than when I first spoke with them. And that's what drove me to continue in the recruitment industry. And I, climbed my way up the corporate ladder and
Wow.
yeah, got to lead recruiters, found my passion in leadership, and then helped some startup companies start their recruitment firms from the ground up, and then found my way here at Pioneer Healthcare, um, repositioning my career to more strategic solutions and growth, because that's another area I'm very passionate in is growth. So here I am.
That is so amazing. I love that you were like the sorority rush chair, and that definitely kind of resonates into recruiting and your personality, of course, because I think for me, one thing I've learned, as a nurse now, kind of coming at this industry from at first a nurse perspective, but now as a business in the space, is really how much that kind of recruiter to clinician relationship is so core to the industry and the recruiting process. So it sounds like you're someone that loves building relationships with others. I'm curious, kind of, to learn a little bit more about like what your role as a recruiter was. Like, can you just describe to us like maybe in like the basic sense, like what does a recruiter do, and how does that kind of relationship that you form with your clinicians you work with so key to the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about recruitment, you think, okay, I'm just helping someone find a job and I'm just job matching. But it's so much more than that. It takes an incredible amount of trust for someone to give that part of their life and open up their career, give an insight into their career and
Yeah.
tell them what they're looking for. I mean, this is their livelihood, right? So it takes an incredible amount of trust, especially with travel nurse recruiting. It's a whole nother level of trust that you need to gain because you, as a nurse, you are trusting this person that you met over on the phone, never met them in person, and you're trusting
Yeah.
them to relocate you to somewhere you've never been. You're trusting on their expertise that you're going to be placed in a clinically safe environment, somewhere you're going to be supported and you're going to be compensated fairly, and that you're going to end up in a place that, the beautiful greener pastures that this recruiter is promising you. So, I've always been like such a hype girl, and I run off of excitement and emotions. I'm a Pisces, so I'm like the
I
most
love that.
Pisces that exists. So I'm really about the emotional connection. As a recruiter, you're not only just their career consultant and career coach, but you're also their, when someone is on assignment, you are also their therapist. You are their
Yeah.
mentor. You are their friend, especially when you're lonely. It's your first month in an unknown place at a new job.
Yeah.
And especially if there's like stigma against travel nurses or traveling clinicians,
Yeah.
you might experience clickiness and all of that, and you want someone on the other side who's calling to check in on you and being your cheerleader, your motivator, encourager, and also educator as well.
Yeah.
I really feel that as a good recruiter, not only are you a serial relationship builder, but you're also educating your clinician on what the market looks like, on, what the market trends are, on, things to look out for, and really giving that insight to your clinician so that they are well equipped for their assignment and for their next assignment and for their whole career.
Absolutely. I love how you pointed out kind of the versatility of a recruiter in their role and of that relationship and rapport that is built between the clinician and the recruiter. Because you're right, especially even if it's your first assignment, you might feel a little scared. You might be in a new place. And having that person that you can kind of have by your side to be your cheerleader and to kind of support you, I think is so vital. And when I talk to travelers, I think often I hear that they really do have loyalty with recruiters, rather than agencies. Like the relationships they build with the recruiters are so key to that engagement and retention. Um, I'm curious if you have any advice just for the healthcare workers listening. How is it that you kind of find a recruiter that works with that fits what you're looking for, I guess? Like, do you have any advice about like those early interactions and just kind of are you just kind of like it's like finding a friend? Is it how would you kind of like give advice to clinicians who are just starting and talking to recruiters?
I always say that trying to find a recruiter or the whole industry in general, it's like dating.
Yeah.
It's like finding a therapist. It's
Yeah.
very much trial and error. So I might be going against the grain here, but I always tell all my travelers, I say, look, I highly encourage you to talk to other recruiters so that you can get a feel on how you're going to vibe, right? You want to make sure that you vibe with your recruiter.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a whole trust issue and it's a relationship, and you don't want to be switching recruiters for every assignment. There
Right.
are people out there, there are people out there where they're like, look, I've been doing this a long time. I'm very self-sufficient, so I just want to go for whatever agency is paying me the best. You know, um, that's fine. And there's people that are like that, and I give all respect for that. Do you grab your bag? Like get that bag, right?
Right.
I'm all about that too. But a majority of people need that person they can trust because there's no such thing as a perfect assignment.
Yeah.
And when stuff hits the fan, which a lot of times they will, you want to know that you can call your recruiter at any time and know that they're going to have your back. They're going to trust you. Um,
Absolutely.
I had a situation where she was a long time traveler of mine, a long time traveler of mine. It was her first travel assignment, and she was from South Carolina. So sweet. Never left South Carolina in her life. Southern Belle, so sweet. She wanted to go on her first travel assignment, and she wanted the highest paying contract out there. I said, okay, but I just want you to know that you have to know what you're signing up for because high pay means high risk, high reward, right?
Yeah.
So we had reviewed many options together, and I said, I think for your first assignment, you might love Texas more, where it's a little bit more familiar of a culture, or maybe better weather. And she said, no, I want to go to Minnesota. They're paying me bank. I said, okay, sounds good. So we got her the contract in Minnesota. I let her know it was the middle of winter. She had never seen snow in her life.
Oh
And
no.
I prepared her as much as I could.
Right.
She went and I checked in on her. She was so like frozen literally from not only culture shock, right, but also like physical weather shock.
Yeah.
And she had never driven in the snow, and she ended up driving in a ditch because,
Oh
she didn't know
no.
how to drive. It was so bad. Um, she called me. It was before her shift, so it was 5 a.m. my time. And she had called me. Thankfully, I'm like always on my phone, and she had called me. I picked up right away because I knew she would not call me if it was not an emergency. She was crying. She didn't know what to do. Thankfully she was not hurt, but I
Mm.
walked her through everything. I said, okay, do you have AAA? Let's call the hospital, let them know that you're not going to make it to your shift, and are you okay? All right, let's walk you through what you're supposed to do when you call off a shift. Let's explain what's going on. And then I had my travel experience team call her and basically help her with not workman's comp, but with benefits and everything that involved with her situation.
Yeah.
Um, that same assignment, she was having issues with a supervisor that she felt like she was getting discriminated against, and
Mm.
we had someone step in and mediate that conversation. And throughout that whole assignment, even though she was unhappy, she still stuck with me for the next assignment because she said, Selena, I should have listened to you. You're right. And thank you for never leaving my side.
Oh.
So she traveled with me for 4 years, and
Oh my
actually she ended up coming to
goodness.
my wedding. Yeah,
Oh
she came
my
to my wedding. Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Wow. That is so amazing. And I think that exactly what you just described is the power of a recruiter. And I mean, I think it's so interesting in this kind of post pandemic world because I think in the pandemic, it felt like when I talked to a lot of travelers that some of those recruiter clinician relationships were just so transactional because it was just like, it was so fast and everyone was just trying to fill contracts and it was like, wild, right? Like it was the pandemic, it was just crazy rates. I feel like since then, as we enter 2024, I feel like we're seeing a lot more of that recruiter clinician relationship having to come back and be so important. Have you seen that transition kind of post pandemic as well, or how it shifted during the pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, during the pandemic, that was the time that everyone wanted to be a travel nurse. I
Yeah.
think that there was some scandal, some school in Florida that was giving out fake degrees because
Yeah.
people were willing to pay to become a travel nurse, right?
Right.
It was a crazy time. And with the volume of open needs that there were, and then hospitals being stuck in this model because now they had to keep paying these ridiculous rates to fill even their normal slots without the crisis still happening. It became like a very weird time in staffing where hospitals were like, we need to pump the brakes, otherwise we're going to go out of business.
Yeah.
Um, and then nurses saying like, well, I'm used to making this much. And granted, I agree, the amount of work that nurses do and the appreciation that they bypass and don't receive, they deserve to get paid, right? So I think when nurses started experiencing like this is what I'm worth, and they started realizing that, that also caused so much tension. And then when hospitals just put their foot down and said, okay, we're going to focus our efforts on perm hires. Um, there was a big fallout in the travel nursing industry, big
Yeah.
fallout, because a lot of nurses said, well, it's not worth it for me to travel and leave my family behind and leave my home and everything if I'm only going to be making, 20% more than what
Right.
I could be making at home.
Right.
So it did weed out a lot of clinicians in that industry. So I think the market is stabilizing.
Yeah.
Um, but just as any nurse could be a travel nurse during that era, also anyone could be a travel recruiter. I mean,
Yeah.
at that point, AI would have been great because it was so transactional. Hospitals
Right.
were like, "Do you have a
Exactly.
heartbeat?" Like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
they're like, "Great, you're walking, talking, you know how to, pull a catheter, perfect. Come over, come on."
Right. Right.
Yeah, but
I think
yeah.
it's such a great point. Yeah, and it's been interesting to kind of see all of the new technologies that I think have kind of come out of the pandemic, because what happened, at least from my perspective, I'm curious if you agree, is, the pandemic shined a light on the healthcare staffing industry because it like blew up, and then a lot of companies in the space got funding, a lot of new people that were building technologies were kind of pivoting into the space and starting companies. So I think now we're seeing a lot of new technologies emerge in this space, but it's interesting because at the same time that those technologies are emerging, I think it's also the same time that that recruiter to clinician relationship is more important now than ever again. And coming back to that rehumanizing healthcare staffing, because that is how healthcare staffing stays sustainable, is building those relationships, building that rapport, building that trust, and really building your kind of community of clinicians such that these are folks that want to keep working with you and trust you. So I'm curious, from your role now at Pioneer, doing more kind of strategy work and growth, which I think is so awesome. How do you kind of see that strategic thinking and growth mindset come into play with these two kind of things now that are happening with the new technologies emerging, AI, automation, with also, I think, that necessity for going back to recruiter 101, like building that rapport and those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of technology, a huge fan. I believe that AI is created for honestly to help us. I see it as a tool to make us better at what we do and allow us to focus our time and efforts on the things that we want to do and like to do.
Yeah.
Um, Automations such as remembering birthdays, automations such as re-engaging clinicians that are in your database. For example, a recruiter comes into their desk and they have a huge pipeline that's probably outdated. If we have a technology that says, "Hey, these people that you had worked with previously, you haven't engaged with in like over a month or 2 months," and if it provided me a list like that, oh my gosh, thank you so much for a reminder. It's like your assistant, right? And so I think things like that and administrative tasks and, just being able to weed out the things that take a lot of time and brain space, but not so much brain power. If you use technology to do that, then that's only going to make you better, faster, stronger. And then that allows your recruiters the time to be able to spend doing what they're good at, which cannot be replaced by technology, which is relationship building, right?
Yeah.
The active listening, the empathy, the humorous jokes, sharing jokes together.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that can't be replicated no matter how AI might get really crazy and good. Like that heart to heart connection, like humans are made to be relational. And that's what we want to lean on technology for, is help do all this annoying stuff that we don't want to do so that I can spend time being human and building trust and, just engaging with my people.
I love that. Yes, it's so exciting to see the technologies be able to aid healthcare staffing leaders in, hopefully decreasing some of that manual work that is still so wild. It still like bogs my mind that so much is still done so manually and so kind of in an archaic fashion. And just, I mean, in healthcare overall, not just in healthcare staffing and staffing agencies, but just even in hospitals and administrative work in hospitals. There's, I think, a lot of kind of archaic workflows that
Mhm.
are, causing strain on leaders. And leader burnout is so real too, like there's so much workload put on recruiters and marketing managers and everyone. So I love how you said, kind of leveraging that AI and automation to aid some of that things that maybe isn't taking necessarily the brain power, it's just taking that space so that you can focus on really building those human connections, which I think are so vital for everyone to be able to succeed in the space.
Yeah, just more efficiency, and
Yeah.
not just efficiency, but intentionalism.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
100%. Um, and then speaking a little bit more about Pioneer, I'm curious to just learn a little bit more about the agency, what you guys focus on. I'm on the website now and it's like, I love the welcoming vibes and like the photos, and you guys obviously have such incredible reviews and lots of awards, but would love to hear from you, kind of what you focus on and maybe what sets your agency apart.
Yeah, yeah. So Pioneer is a industry leading staffing firm that recruits for therapists and allied, a little bit of nursing as well, but more geared towards education in schools. So we work with special education departments and directors to help fulfill their open staffing needs that they have for, speech language pathologists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, behavioral professionals, school psychologists, and everything far and few in between. The schools need a lot of help, especially post pandemic when they went remote for so long. Um, Now more than ever, there's so many more students with special needs that have delayed speech, behavioral, a lot of, attention deficit problems, and just they just need a lot of help. Like hospitals, schools, pray for all of them because I feel like that's such a unappreciated but and thankless
Yeah.
industry, but so necessary and so vital to our system. But yeah, so we work with medical facilities as well, but our biggest sector is education in schools. And, one of the things that set us apart is our values. So it's funny that we're talking about the human touch because one of our four pillars is the human touch.
Yes.
Yeah. When you call our phone line, you'll always talk to a human representative. We don't believe in voicemails. So actually, we don't have voicemails. No one at our company has voicemails because
Mm.
you'll always be talking to a live representative, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's like
Wow.
one of our, yeah, like, right?
That's
Which,
amazing.
for example, my nurse who was stuck in Minnesota in a ditch at 5 a.m. in the morning, thankfully I
Wow.
picked up. But imagine if I was not her, right? Or if I was
Right,
not her
right,
recruiter, right?
right.
She wouldn't know what to do. So that's something that I really value and cherish about Pioneer Healthcare. Another thing that we really foster is people over profit.
I just
So,
saw that on your website and I was going to
yeah.
point it out. It's so awesome.
Yeah, we're not the agency that's going to drive up the market with, and bleed our clients dry with rates. However, we're also very, very, very fair to the clinicians, and we want to make sure that we are that best paying company out there because we do value the people and the talent that go out there, boots on the ground, and really make an impact to their patients and student population. So, we're not about like the gross margin, and the, business initiatives. We're like, okay, with the with the amount of customer service and care and love, we will build our loyalty, and through that will come referrals, and we can make
Yeah,
up our profit through volume,
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that's so, it's such a smart way of thinking, especially I think as we move into this new era of healthcare staffing again, which I think really is, you know, a lot of clinicians have experience working with agencies, and they, I think, can really quickly suss out kind of who is on their side and who isn't. So I really love that. That is such a core value and very clearly stated on your website as well. The reputation of people over profit and kind of how you align that with your own kind of business model and values and culture, which is so amazing. And the culture at the company looks awesome too. Like, I love to see you guys doing like activities for your birthdays and stuff, which I think is something to talk about too, like that internal team camaraderie, because I think that has downstream effects to the clinician, to the clients. Have you seen that kind of be important in your experience?
Oh, absolutely. Another thing about Pioneer is that we won the Staffing Industry Analyst Best Staffing Firms to Work For. And
Yeah,
that says a lot because if you keep your people happy, your internal people happy, then naturally we're going to treat our contractors, clinicians, with the same amount of respect and love that we get internally. And then it's a ripple effect so that our clinicians then provide the best care that they can for the students and the patients out there. And it's like the gift that keeps on giving.
yep.
So we're all about culture. Actually, I always joke around and I tell my boss, I say, "Am I the personality hire? Like, you hired me for the culture, right?"
That's hilarious. I mean, that's so important. You're so right. I mean, because it's downstream effects. It's how the recruiters will treat the clinicians, and the clinicians feel that love and they feel that warmth and that culture. So I think that's something to really note about an agency is like they have good internal culture as well. And I'm curious, like, if you have any advice for any clinicians that are listening that, maybe they are interested in learning more about Pioneer, they're interested in learning more about healthcare staffing, maybe they've taken a contract before, maybe they haven't, but, maybe they're just having a few hesitations because I feel like there has been, like, a lot of talk of just how volatile the market has been and it's, like, the rates, and it just sometimes feels a little bit overwhelming as a clinician. So, from your experience as a recruiter, now in your kind of more strategic role, do you have any advice to share for clinicians listening and getting started?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, there's always a risk reward analysis that you're going to have. But my thought is that if you are willing to roll with the punches, find a company and a recruiter that you know is going to take care of you and have your back through all the ebbs and flows, go for it, right? Like you only live once. And I am a huge believer that, we were put on this earth with a mission to help others and not be pigeonholed in where we were born or grew up in. But the world is so big and you might meet your soulmate, while you're traveling or
Yeah,
like you never know whose life you're going to impact and change because you took the risk and took the chance to go out there and grow your experience. So I say do it.
I love it. No, I love that. That risk reward analysis makes a lot of sense. But you're so right. I feel like there's so much adventure and positive that comes with an assignment. It's not just about making more money. Obviously, that's an amazing perk. But I think it really is about just getting out of your comfort zone and trying something new and having that adventure and being able to meet new people. I think there's so many incredible travelers and such incredible communities out there as well. So that's a really well said message. Just go for it. Um,
Without discomfort, there is no growth. So,
I
get
love that.
comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I love that. No, that's so true. Sometimes it's scary. It's always, it's scary to put yourself out there to do something different. I mean, you to kind of give a little plug, you became an author last year or kind of the started this year. Like that is so amazing, and I feel like that is something I'm sure it was like vulnerable to kind of put your writing out there and to be an author. Like how did that feel?
Amazing. It felt like I just unlocked another new level of being able to accomplish whatever I want, right? Like, again, it feels like I am worthy to be able to dream and reach those dreams and accomplish those dreams. And, if I am worthy to do that, so is everyone. So, dream big, always go for it, say yes to any opportunity that knocks, and figure out the parachute on the way down.
Oh, I love that. That's such a great message. I'm sure everyone listening is like, this is the pep talk. You are not kidding. You are the hype queen over here. I'm like hyped
Let's
up.
go.
I'm ready to like take on any challenge. Yes, it's good to have that camaraderie, and we're all in this together. Which brings me to my last question that we always end our podcast with. It kind of comes back to Adni's mission of just unity and unifying healthcare, and also just bringing back that human factor into healthcare staffing and really building technology that can bridge that gap between employers, clinicians, and just everyone and kind of bring us all together. So, curious in your kind of expertise and someone who obviously cares so much about these values, would love to know like why do you believe that rehumanizing healthcare staffing is more important now than maybe ever before?
There is so much division in the world right now. Um, Probably going to be even more as we go into the election year.
Yeah.
And we're so um, inclined and pushed to choose a side or, have an opinion even if you don't have an opinion. Um, but at the end of the day, if you look at the core of who we are, again, we were made to be relational, and everyone has a heart. Everyone is going through their own battles. And at the end of the day, I really believe that humans are made to be genuinely kind and good. And so when you look at the space of recruitment and healthcare, specifically healthcare, um, healthy is a good thing, right? That's the equilibrium, that's the goal that we want. And we all need to buy into the mission that we want to create a healthier tomorrow for the next generation. So we all need to be united and just um, remember that like our we have the same goal,
Yeah.
which is treat each other with kindness and have empathy, you know, um, and let's strive for that better tomorrow.
Oh, I love that. That is so beautifully said. And Selena, it goes without saying you are an inspiration. You are literally a healthcare staffing legend. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, and congratulations on all of your success in such an incredible career so far. So excited to see what you and Pioneer are up to. And for anyone listening that is maybe interested in learning more about you or Pioneer, is there any way that folks could reach you or connect with you? How should they connect?
Yes, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn, Solena Barrera. We're on LinkedIn on Pioneer. You can find us pioneerhealthcare.com and follow me on Instagram. It's Solena Barrera, Soulena. That's my DJ name, so I actually DJ on the side.
Oh my gosh, I love that fun fact. That's amazing. What kind of music?
Electronic, so house
Okay, that's so
music.
cool. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I want to hear some of your beats because I love dancing to house music. So you'll have to
Yes,
send
let's
me
do
some of your
it.
mixes.
Oh, you got
Okay,
it.
amazing. Well, yes, thank you so much again for being on the podcast. And everyone, definitely check out Pioneer. And you can connect with Selena and have an amazing day.
Thank you. Bye, Anthony.
Bye, everyone.